What news is that?
The news from some of Jesus' disciples. He is risen from the dead. I can't believe it. I thought you might have heard the news before I did.
No, I haven't heard this. What makes you so sure it's true?
Well, I heard it from a very reliable source. I heard that some of the women who followed him went to the tomb where he was buried, and they found the tomb empty. Oh, then they ran and told all the others about it. It's hard to believe. Except we do know that Jesus raised you from the dead, and that you had been in the tomb 4 days.
Well, that is amazing news. Are you sure that no one stole his body?
Oh, no. Some of them have even seen him, and they have spoken with him.
Oh, this is truly amazing. The one who raised me from the dead has risen himself. I wonder if we too will get to see him and speak with him.
Oh, Lazarus, you know how much he loved our family. I'm sure we will see him and talk with him again.
The last couple of weeks seem to be a blur to me. Everything's happened so fast, it's hard to take it all in.
Oh, I know. Do you remember the last time we saw him? I mean, other than the day he died.
How can I forget? It was soon after Jesus called me forth from the tomb. It was 6 days before the Passover, and Jesus had come to Bethany. And we had dinner with him. You had served him and the others, as you always did. Mary had some expensive nard and anointed Jesus' feet with it. And one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, he was disapproving of what she did and asked why such a perfume couldn't be sold and the money be given to the poor. And do you remember what Jesus said to him?
Oh, yes, I do. He reprimanded his disciples, telling them, "Leave Mary alone." Jesus told them that Mary had bought it so that she may keep it for the day of his burial. Oh, that made me feel so sad. And then he said, "You will always have the poor with you, but you will not always have me." It wasn't long after that meal that people came out to see Jesus, and to see you too, because Jesus had raised you from the dead. And from that moment on, the chief priests were planning not only to put Jesus to death, but to kill you as well.
And I've been hiding ever since. But now that I know that Jesus has been raised from the dead, I have some hope. Martha, you and I have to get out of here. We have to go look for him. I can't hide in here in fear forever.
Yeah, I know. But we have to be careful, Lazarus. They'll still be looking for you. Maybe now more than ever.
I'll let them look. What could they do to me now that they've already done to him? But they couldn't keep him down. They couldn't keep him dead and buried and forgotten, rotting away in some tomb.
Lazarus, you died once. I'm not so sure I could take it, losing you again.
But Martha, you and I know, we both know that I'll die again. We just don't know the exact day. You told me something soon after I walked out of the tomb, all bound in my grave clothes. You told me that after he had received word about my death, that he didn't come right away. And then you went out to meet him when he finally did come, and you told him that if I'd only been there, if he'd only been there on time, then I would not have died. And then Jesus said to him, he said, "I'm the resurrection and the life. Those who believe me, even though they die, will live. Everyone who lives and believes in me will never die." He asked you, "Do you believe this?" And what did you say to him, Martha?
I said, "Yes, Lord, I believe."
You and I, Martha, we're both going to die. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but someday. But don't you now see what's happened? His resurrection changes everything. Death will not be the end.
You know, even after I said that I believed, I've had a hard time actually believing. When we brought Jesus to your tomb that day and he commanded the stone to be rolled away, I told him there's going to be a stench because you'd already been in that tomb for 4 days. Then he reminded me again about believing so that I might see the glory of God.
Martha, I know that none of this makes sense. I had difficulty coming to grips with the fact that I'd actually died and come back to life. And then I've had to face the threat of dying again as the religious authorities sought to take my life. Now I'm trying to deal with the news of Jesus' resurrection and what that all means. But in looking back at what's happened these past 2 weeks, it's really beginning to make sense to me now.
Please share what you're thinking with me. I'm trying to sort this all out too.
You know, there's a reason Jesus waited to come to Bethany, after he received news of my illness. I think that he knew how sick I was. And raising me from the dead was not only to show everyone the glory of God, but also it was a foreshadowing of his own death and resurrection. And when he came to our home that Passover, and Mary anointed his feet with perfume and wiped them with her hair, that too was a sign of his being anointed for his death and burial, revealing God's purpose.
Jesus did say that Mary had bought the perfume for the day of his burial. But of course she had no way of knowing that. But you're right, Lazarus. Everything seems to point to his death and resurrection.
It feels like I've been in a tomb, still bound by my grave clothes, locked up in here for fear of the religious authorities. But I can't live in fear anymore. What is it that you told me that Jesus said at my tomb? He said, "Lazarus, come out. Unbind him, let him go."
You're right. You can't be cooped up in here forever. You might as well still be wrapped up in your grave clothes, being hauled in here day after day. And I've been living in fear as well. Everyone knows how close we've been to Jesus and how much he loved our family. We're easy targets for those filled with hatred and fear of him. I, too, need to move beyond the fear and return to the light once again of living by faith.
Martha, what about Mary?
Oh, Mary, she's probably already heard the news of Jesus rising from the dead and is out looking for him as we speak. You know Mary. She was the one who had, as Jesus said, chosen the better part by sitting at his feet, taking in his every word. And she poured all that costly nard all over his feet, demonstrating her devotion to him. It seems Mary has never been captive to any fear. We will have to find her, though, and decide together just what we are going to do next.
Oh, I'm confident we'll find her. She's most likely already found him and is probably sitting and grabbing a hold of his feet in awe and reverence. I think wherever we find Jesus, we'll also find Mary. That is, unless he finds us first.
Okay, Lazarus, let's do it. Let us go forth.